What is up, everybody? We are back. Division Draftables, episode 5, starting the AFC East today. I'm your host, Nico Chambers. This is our series where we dive in to the division outlook of your favorite team and all 32 NFL teams as we transition out of the draft cycle and towards training camp and ultimately preseason football. So hyped to be here. Of course, my co-host P Dunn right here alongside me. We get to dive into the AFC East today. Without further ado, let's just get this thing started. The Buffalo Bills. Pete, talk to me about their draft.
Well, it was interesting. We've talked about themes with drafts, with a lot of these teams, and the theme was very obvious with this team is that's defense, and it was very heavy defense. Obviously, the first five picks were deep. They didn't take an offensive player until the fifth round, which says a lot. We knew they had a hole at corner, and they went and filled it. Yes, I don't think neither of us are as high on Harrison as some other people are, but a guy that they can get in there and develop, really good athlete. And so a lot of positives in here. I think they did a really good job at do accomplishing what they wanted to get out of this draft. And so if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, I think you sleep well at night with the knowing that they did what they wanted to do.
100%. I think talking about a little bit about Maxwell Harrison over there, kind of a toss-up pick, but ultimately I think this team fit is perfect for him. And I feel like obviously there were better guys on the board. We both had him as the number 6 corner in this class, but in terms of fit, I feel like he's just a Buffalo Bill. For some reason, it's something feels like he's a Buffalo Bill. So that's kind of if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm excited for that. I'm also excited. Your guy over here, Dorian Strong in the sixth. That's a big pickup. Underrated as well. Really just as a sense of you get those two corners with those two holes that you have, it's kind of wide open at that corner position. And then obviously you see what they do here with this D line. I think they bolster this up, and ultimately it's going to pay off for a team that honestly, as we look at this depth chart, a lot of these guys are going to be on contract years in either next year or the following year. So I feel like really lining up what you see here on this D line will be good. But besides that, what stands out to you, P Dunn?
I think they did even with the Joey Bosa signing, now that we're moving on from the draft part to the depth chart in general, like that's a big deal. And like they really did have a mission of improving this defense. And I think they did it not only like, is this going to be a better defense this year? It is. And I think they did a really good job preparing that for the future as well with a guy like Deion Walker that can develop, a guy like Landon Jackson that's going to develop. I think they feel really good about the offense and where that's at as long as you have Josh Allen. They invested in Coleman last year. A guy that they expect to take another step in year two, and extended Shakir in the offseason too. So I think they're really happy with where this team's at. If I was a Buffalo Bills fan, I would be really happy. The conversations we had previously about the Packers, and even a lot of those teams in the NFC North, with like their window felt like it was closing. I feel like last year we could have had that same conversation with the Bills. And I think a lot of people did, like, what's happening? Do they need to reset? Like they haven't really crossed that threshold that they wanted to. And with an offseason like this, I feel like they really recentered themselves on, no, we're ready to go. Like we want to win now. We can win now. We believe we can win now, as well as building for the future as well. So this is a really good offseason for me.
I was a big Bills hater last year. I had them going under their win totals, which we'll get to their win totals this year coming up. But I had them going under, and they ended up obviously doing what they did, just running through that AFC. But at the end of the day, the worrisome thing for me last year was the receivers, what they were going to do without Diggs, who was going to step it up, and obviously the guy stepped up last year, but the receivers is still a wide open room. So I'm really interested to see what that looks like. It looks like Josh Allen just does more with little, almost in a sense. He doesn't need that many playmakers. He is the playmaker. So honestly, as long as they have Josh Allen, they're going to be in a really good spot. But talking about the receiver room, who's going to be the guy this year? Do we going to see something from Keon Coleman in a second year jump? Elijah Moore signing? Like, is it going to be Shakir this year? Curtis Samuel, Joshua Palmer? What do you see?
It really is crazy. They got so many role players in this room. You have your guy Coleman that's going to be that ex receiver, dealt with some injuries last year and the struggles of being a rookie. Like I think they really believe in him, like we talked about year two. That's big for receivers. And so I think they really trust him. But he has a designated role on the outside. He's that X receiver, and Khalil Shakir is that designated slot receiver. And then they have guys coming out at the tight end room too, that two tight ends that we both really like in the passing game. So you've got Elijah Moore, Josh Palmer they signed in the offseason, Curtis Samuel's another guy. I didn't even know they got KJ Hamler. Like they have a really decent rotation. And I think that's going to be good enough because, like you said, they have Josh Palmer and they have James Cook.
Yeah.
Uh, I think there's things developing there. Like, I think he's looking for an extension. I think they're going to get one. It seems like things are trending in that direction. So, like, this offense is going to be good. Like you said, when you have Josh Allen, like, they're going to figure it out. And they have a good enough receiving core that he's going to be able to make work, make do with that for sure.
You got some underrated running backs as well with Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, and Frank Gore Jr. We'll transition here to our top five here in terms of the draft. Pete, talk to me about your A minus grade.
Yeah, I love the Landon Jackson pick. I think he's going to come in and be a really great player for them on that defensive end position. You know, you've got Bosa there. It really is just a good deal on with Rousseau down in there. And then I love Dion Walker, a guy I was super, super high on coming into this season. Did not see a really great year. Truly one of the best athletes and freakiest athletes in the entire draft. And so a guy that get him in a room where he doesn't have to play immediately. He can sit, he can develop. This is a really great defense to do that in with a lot of really good coaching staff that can develop him and work with him. And so I think he's going to have a fantastic career. And then top sleeper, keep your eye on Dorian Strong, like we talked about, or like you talked about. Like it's a very wide open corner room. This is a guy that I had a fourth round grade on. They got him in the seventh. He's going to come in there. I think he's going to compete. High floor guy. When you get a guy like that in the seventh round, it's a win. So that'll be my top sleeper overall. When you put the pieces together and accomplishing the mission they wanted to do, like this is a really good draft. It is a strong A minus for me.
Love to hear it. Kind of get into it. Same kind of thought process with you. Landon Jackson is that's my favorite pick too. I think he's my defensive end number three on the board. I'm liking what TJ Sanders can bring to this interior defensive line. Best value. Talk about Dorian Strong, late round pick out of ET. I think he's going to do really good things for them. Walker, just like you said, that he's my top sleeper. You could throw either one of these defensive tackles in and they're going to make plays. I'm super excited for that. And then there's a reason you draft Maxwell Hairston, where you do in the first round. It's because he's going to be that year one impact for this Bills team. That'll kind of transition to what we say here about the main question with the Bills offseason. How can they just get over the hump in the AFC?
Well, I think when you have a guy, I mean, how many times are we going to talk about Josh Allen in this episode? He is the team.
Yep.
And you keep supplementing him with not only weapons, but a higher floor in the receiving core. You've got better guys that are going to be in that rotation. And then you just go, and there's no quarterback's best friend rather than a good defense. And they just went and they got him a better defense. And so I think you trust that like the only thing you can keep doing is focus internally and make your team the best they can. And that's exactly what they did. So they are doing everything they can. I really do believe that this team is a lot better than a lot of people think they are. I think people are kind of seeing them as like a top six, seven team. I kind of see them as a top three team in the NFL right now. So um, I am I'm very optimistic about the Bills this season for sure.
Window still open. That's our opinion on it. All right. Best draft in the
Man,
entire 2025 NFL draft. Two A pluses for the New England Patriots. He done try to assemble thoughts about this beautiful draft.
I mean, it is a masterclass. This is absolutely fantastic. Coming off of last year, it's very obvious that Drake May needed everything. He needed weapons, he needed an offensive line, and he needed more help on the defense. And you checked one of those boxes, you checked the other box, and you checked the third box. Like everything you wanted to do here, you got. You got a really high. I mean, we could go down this list, and I'd have optimism on every pick
Literally.
until about the sixth round. Like it is fantastic. Like it really is so good. They took BPA and it's something we've talked about before. Like when you're rebuilding a team, like you take BPA, like you
Have
get the
to.
best players you can and you get them in the building. And that's exactly what they did. It was really, really good. And they somehow managed to do it while getting players at positions that they needed. Um, it's fantastic. It is the epitome of an A+ draft.
You see Braden Swinson there in the fifth. Just an unbelievable sleeper pick there. But I like to look at kind of what you do in the late rounds to warrant this A plus. And in my opinion, instead of burning picks on positions that they don't need, they go out, they get a kicker, they get a long snapper. I like that type of move because why not? Like those are positions of need. You're gonna eventually need one or two kickers on this team. Why not get one in this draft? I love what they did. They're one of the few teams that did that this year. Even late in the seventh with the Kobe Minor pick, like even the Marcus Bryant pick, like I just love it all around. And then don't even get me started on what they did at the beginning, because we rated our sleeper teams. Henderson, Williams, Wilson, like all those guys were in that, and they just did a phenomenal job. We'll look at this depth chart, and is it an understatement to say that this is the most improved team in the NFL after free agency and the draft?
Um, I don't think so. I think it's definitely up there. Like,
Yeah,
I think if you look at teams that added the most amount of wins, I think the Patriots added the most amount of wins this year for sure.
for sure. It's, I mean, you see all these new additions coming in. They obviously had a ton of cap. Vrabel coming in also, bringing in guys like Harold Landry to come play with them. Big one, Carlton Davis. That's a big one. Stephon Diggs coming. Even Morgan Moses there. Milton Williams. So, how do you make sense of this new construction of this new franchise and kind of new rebuild mode for this Patriots team?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a step in a direction that they want to go, and kind of change the trajectory of this team. They figured out that okay, we've got somebody special at quarterback, a guy that we really want to pour into. Um, I I mean, we haven't even talked about the Vrabel. Like, you want to talk about adding wins? It's like Vrabel as your head coach will add wins, and then getting
That
him a
guy.
roster like this will add wins. And you have a quarterback like Drake May going into year two who is going to win you ball games. Like this is there's man, like I wish I was a Patriots fan. There's so much optimism around this team right now. It's awesome.
It's just new starters everywhere. Complete turnaround. You see that offensive line at three different positions. I think more than anything, you kind of see how well these rookies are set up to potentially be playmakers. Kyle Williams is going to have a role at receiver. Whether it is as the number two, three role player, we don't know, but that's a wide open receiver room besides Diggs. And then kind of just going down the line, they looks like they have a ton of weapons at edge. You're if you're lining up Braden Swinson as your third outside linebacker on the right side, I mean that's a good problem to have. I'm really interested to see kind of what they do with that. It's just a fantastic just assembly of a team. We'll go into the big five here. Pete, talk to me.
Yeah, this is one of the only drafts that I didn't repeat a single player, and every category has a different player because that's how good this draft was. So favorite pick is going to be Kyle Williams. I think he's like you talked about. I think he's going to be really awesome in this offense. Total fireworks player, and in a wide open room, I think he's going to be Drake May's best friend. Draft Diamond, Joshua Farmer, a guy I loved throughout this process, a defensive tackle out of Florida State. Great hands, great movement from the body. Like he's got a great lower half, really strong. He's going to be fantastic in this defense on a defensive line that is just needing to rotate bodies right now. And they've got three really good ones. Barring what happens with Barmore's injury. And then best value, Braden Swinson. Obviously, that I mean, we don't really even need to talk about that. I have no idea why he fell so far. Top sleeper, Jared Wilson. I think he's going to come in and play at some point in that interior that offensive line. If not, start the season there. He's really good, and they got him at a really good spot, and they need bodies on that offensive line. And then obviously, your one impact is going to be Will Campbell. Wherever he plays, he is a culture changer. He is a total Mike Vrabel guy, and he is going to come in and like it says, like year one impact, he's going to be a dog. So
It's not Some people might say it's not the sexy pick. I think it's the sexy pick. In terms of him as a offensive lineman, very reminiscent of what Joe Alt was last year. Um, I'll kind of go into mine. It was so good, I had to add two sleepers. Um, we'll start with obviously Will Campbell. That's my favorite pick. It was a no-brainer. You take the guy who's going to protect Drake May. And honestly, he's going to be the draft diamond. He's going to be the best player in this draft class for this team, and he's going to be a Patriot for a very long time. Best value, we talked about Swinson. I had him here. He was the 22nd defensive end slash edge player taken, and I had him as my number 7 edge prospect. So, I mean, getting him in the fifth is just remarkable. And then sleepers, Jared Wilson and Kyle Williams. I think Jared Wilson will be the center, and Kyle Williams is just going to I don't know if he's going to be a deep threat or they're going to put him at slot. I don't know, but he's going to do so many great things for them. And then the year one impact, Trevion Henderson, like that was a very shocking move when it happened, but I love it because of what they trusted getting later in the draft. That's what you do. You get the running back who's great, and then you get the sleepers at other positions later in the draft. I love the pick. This Patriots team is going to be interesting. What should we expect? With Drake May coming in year 2 and Mike Vrabel coming in after a year off.
I mean, it feels like there's a from a team that felt identity-less and emotionless these last few years, kind of sputtering out of the Belichick area, whatever happened last year. Like this is a team with an identity that knows who they are, who knows what they're going to play like, that's going to play f like furious, coming off the ball, angry. Like it is a Vrabel team that is built the Vrabel way, and then you've got Will Campbell and Drake May leading that offense. Like those, like it is they've got dogs everywhere on this team.
They're going to run the football. You saw what Vrabel did in Tennessee with Derrick Henry. You got Stevenson, you got Henderson now. They're going to run the football and kind of in a weaker division. We're going to get more into what else is in this division, but besides the Bills, it's kind of open for that, you know, two seed, if you will. Um, so it'll be interesting to see. We'll transition here to the New York Jets. This is a big one. All my Jets fans out there, can we finally give you hope? We are going to dissect that for you right now. P Dunn, how was their draft?
It was a B. Like it was there was some good here. There's some players that I think will play. And I think your first three picks are going to be guys that are on the roster for a long time. And other than that, I don't really know. And so, I love the Azaria Thomas pick, a guy who I was very high on, and much more than where he was drafted. Mason Taylor, we both had as a reach, but like you're setting the table for a future quarterback to come in, hopefully next year. And you really solidified this offensive line. You got Olu last year, like you got Armand Membu this year. You got two bookend tackles, and you've got a really good interior. Like this is the New York Jets made a point of never having to worry about the offensive line again, the way they did the last few years. They did that in a really strong way. So I have a lot of respect for that. Mason Taylor would not have been my pick in the second round, and I don't think I would have taken the last four players where they were taken. So with that, I am really high on the Membu and Thomas pick, and that's why I give them a B, but not super high on everything else they got in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would have to disagree almost with the Mason Taylor. I feel that kind of we talked about this in previous ones, I think with the Texans or other teams that, they look in 1-2, it was either Membu or Tyler Warren. And they did the 100% the right thing by taking Membu and getting a tight end in the second because rather than going Warren in the first and the tackle in the second, you're not getting better value there. I think going Membu and then Taylor, beautiful job by them. They did a great job. I really like the Azaria Thomas. Um, After that, it's kind of iffy. I like Malachi Moore, kind of as a rotational piece. But nothing you can complain about really if you're a Jets fan. We'll kind of go to this depth chart that kind of is now over the Aaron Rodgers overrule, 2 years from hell, if you will. What do you see on this depth chart that stands out?
I mean, I got to go back to the offensive line. Like, you just have to be so joyful if you're a Jets fan, like the way the last few years have gone. And then you think about if you in a perfect world. um, a Justin Fields slash Breece Hall rushing attack behind this offensive line is really scary
That's scary.
with the options of having Garrett Wilson on the outside, who I think is very underrated. I think he's a fantastic receiver. Um, that is a really good rushing attack and a defense that has been good over the last few years. Like it's a good defense. Like, do they have some holes? Yes. Do I think they need another D tackle? Yes, I do. I think they definitely need some linebackers as well, but there's there's a lot of good here, and I think that there is definitely a lot of room for improvement coming from where this team was last year, which
For
they
sure.
definitely underperformed last year, and I think there's a lot of swing for momentum possible for the Jets this year.
I think if I'm giving any hope out, you see the colors here. You see the orange color, that's free agency. You see the purple color, that's the draft. The notable thing I see here is they filled every hole with a new starter. And that could be good or bad if the new starter ends up doing well, but that just shows that the team is woke about what happened last year and they're ready to replace it. You see all the colors in blue, and I look at the starters and I see every remaining starter is mainly a cornerstone piece on this franchise. Like going down the offensive line, those are all cornerstone guys. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, but even in the defense, all those dudes are. And then besides maybe Alan Lazard, who we don't know what's going on there. He may get cut any day now. But I think they just did a great job of kind of transcending this roster after the firing of obviously Sala and then Ulbrich. They're bringing in Steve Wilks now with Aaron Glenn. So I'm really interested to see what that defensive mind looks like, those two together, and see how defensively they will shift this upcoming year. And then the thing that stands out to me is just the big question mark: who's going to be Justin Fields' third weapon? You have Garrett Wilson, you have Brees Hall. Who's going to step up? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be a Mason Taylor spot. Obviously, you got Braylon Allen as their RB2. They didn't really do much at the receiver besides Josh Reynolds. Like, who do you think that'll be?
You know, Mason Taylor is a guy that I think will get targets. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he's a really fundamentally smart tight end, really high floor player. And so he will gather targets. Tight ends usually don't tend to do great in their rookie year unless your name is Brock Bowers. So um, we'll see whether he fits in that offense. But you're right. There's a real you have two really fantastic players as your one and two weapons, and then there's a massive drop off. And so that is something that definitely I wish was addressed better this offseason. Whether that's even taking a guy like, Alika Manor with that second round pick instead of Mason Taylor.
Yep.
Go back to what you said. I definitely agree with you. Warren and then tackle would not have been as good as it is Mambu and then tight end. I just question the fact that like I would have rather you taken a different tight end in the third or the fourth round rather than get another receiver in that room. Get maybe another defensive player in that room. The position drafting that position in that spot, especially when I feel like Mason Taylor might have been a little bit of an overdraft, was just not my favorite pick. So I think, like we said, you know maybe the third weapon's Justin Fields in his legs.
I
That's
was about to
something.
say that.
So it's gonna be a lot of fireworks watching the Jets this season. And if you're a Jets fan, that's a lot different than what you've had. Usually the fireworks are off the field the last few years with the Jets, and so now you get to watch some fun stuff on the field. So
I don't think it'll be as up and down as previous years. I think that's they just want steady. They don't care win or lose. They just want it to be steady. They don't want it to be up and down like the Zach Wilson and the Aaron Rodgers era has been. Give them some hope here in your five picks.
well, Azaria Thomas is gonna be really good. I think he's gonna slide in across some sauce. I think that's definitely your um, probably the bright spot outside of the obvious Membu, who's going to be my year one impact. Tyler Barron, a guy that they need other pieces. Jermaine Johnson's coming up on a contract. Will McDonald's played well, but that's only one guy you've got on that edge. So a guy that they trusted with the pick. We'll see if he turns out to be any good. And then draft diamond, Malachi Moore, a guy out of Alabama that, played pretty well over the last few seasons. And so, you know, not really an NFL translation of the athlete level, but a guy that, was Nick Saban talked a lot about how great he is with his head. And so if you get that guy roaming on the back end, I think that'll be somebody that will play in the league for a long time. So that's my positive spin on this draft for the Jets fans.
I think that that secondary is kind of wide open. I'll talk about my draft diamond. Thomas, Azaria Thomas. I think kind of with the DJ Reed departure, um, he has a really unique opportunity to come in there and dominate. And then best value, I think Malachi Moore. Um, I don't know where I had him in terms of value, but you can just see like the openings here. Malachi Moore could easily step into this free safety spot. Same thing with Azaria Thomas here as the other outside corner. That'll be a good competition between Brandon Stevens. But I mean, I like it. I like them addressing it and going for what they need there. I think my sleeper and year one impact is going to be Mason Taylor. I think they're going to utilize him as a round two pick as they should. And I think that it will be really cool to watch. Love the Armand Membu pick as well. So the main storyline here, Justin Fields and Aaron Glenn, is that a marriage that can work?
I think so. I think they actually play the same brand football. I think that, when you have a rushing attack, that complements that defense so well. That's like, okay, we're gonna run the ball down people's throats. We're gonna run the offense off of that, which is in a weird way similar to what they did. Not in a weird way, it is exactly what they did in Detroit. That's what they did. They played really good defense, and then they focused on Gibbs and Montgomery out of the backfield. And then Jared Goff did a lot of his work off of quick passes and play action, and that's exactly what you're going to ask of Justin Fields. So, yes, I think this marriage can work. I'd love to see it work for Justin Fields personally. I really do have a hard time rooting against that guy. I really wish the best for him. So, we'll see what happens. There's definitely a lot up in the air, but if it's going to work with anybody, I think it's going to work with these two.
I think it's just a really good. First of all, great job of the Jets getting Aaron Glenn. I think that was the right hire for them and kind of the direction of this team and what they're looking for. I'm excited to see if kind of any of those Detroit tendencies, even though he's more of a defensive guy, will kind of boil over with Brees and Braylon Allen. Because I think those are two weapons that you can really use. Braylon Allen may be that third. We don't know. But I think that Justin Fields, this is the right correct signing. I think this is one of my predictions. I said Justin Fields is going to go to the Jets. I think he fits well for this team. They needed something other than the pocket present passer that they've had over this long stretch of time. I don't remember them ever having a running quarterback, to be honest. So I'm really interested to see if this change does anything for this franchise. Um, and then the last team, the Miami Dolphins here. Underwhelming draft, pretty average. Talk to me about it.
Well, I mean, the biggest storyline of this draft is outside of the names on the paper, it's the fact that they had a massive, 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 massive need in their secondary as a whole, and they didn't address it at all. And so, if I was ranking based on the players they got, this would have it might have been a B, but um, this the lack of directing assets in the way that they needed to direct them, and when they had big holes on that roster, especially with the departure of Ramsey, is interesting. You got Jason Marshall, who neither of us had ranked and has not been that. He had a couple years. He was supposed to come out a couple years ago for Florida, and has played terrible since then. And so, if that's your saving grace on who's going to play corner for you this year, it's just not ideal. And so, yes, do I like the first three picks? Yes, I think we both are really high on Ollie Gordon. That's a guy we both like in that offense. Um, Other than that, man, I don't know. It's not ideal.
The thing that stands out to me is Quinn Ewers in the seventh. Just unbelievable, just BPA in a sense. I think he was the number 13 quarterback taken. He was my number six on the board. Your number six too. So like that's going to be a really sleeper, I think, because the injuries with Tua, the up and down. Obviously, they just gave him a contract, but like he could just come in here and really benefit from the ups and downs of Tua on this team, and really step in there.
I
But
mean,
other than that, I don't know how much like this draft is.
at the end of the day, if your first comment about what this team did as a draft is taking a backup quarterback in the seventh round,
There you
then you
go.
know it's really not a great draft. Like this is, I don't know, man. It's not great.
I like the Ollie Gordon pick as well, but obviously they had A-Chain there, so not really immediate need for them. He's a good 2-3 guy. I will say I love the Kenneth Grant pick in terms of what they needed for a nose tackle. Fits perfectly, and I think he will be good for a long time. Other than that, I don't know what else to say about this draft. Maybe we'll find something in the depth chart. Pete, do you see anything that stands out?
I will say something we should keep in mind is, you know, they had a first round pick, a second round pick, and then a pick again until the fifth. So we should be maybe a little more lenient on that. I
Yeah.
just, again, I think you should have taken a corner at least at one of those two picks.
Yep.
Like, how much better would this look if they had Will Johnson on this team or Benjamin Morrison on this team or any of the guys? There's a lot of
Any of
really
them.
good Amos. Like, there's a lot of really good corners that were available in that range that they didn't take. Yes, Savanae is going to be really good, and I'm glad they're playing him at guard. He played tackle at Arizona. I think he was always should have been a guard. Patrick Paul, a guy they drafted last year, is going to have to step in now that Armstead's retired. So we'll see how that goes. It was already not a good offensive line, and now you've got a first-year left tackle there protecting Tua. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, anytime you have Waddle and Reek on a team, I think expect and HN like it's a good you got a bunch of weapons. I hope they it's not a Bengals 2.0 because I don't know how much this defense is going to stop teams.
We were very harsh on kind of the construction of this team, and I think it was the draft recap video, or maybe it was the just the joint mock draft. It's kind of just like I don't see any impact players coming in what you see here in the orange, which is the free agency. I just see a lot of just average guys, and I don't know if you're expecting a jump from a guy like Artie Burns at corner or Ashton Davis at safety, but I just see a lot of mid. I don't know how much longer James Daniels is going to be able to effectively protect the quarterback. And I feel like that was another need that they kind of needed to address. And I don't know if that's the best way to do it. And then like a Zach Wilson signing. I think that could pay off also. But when you were just also there, Alexander Madison, maybe it's just a lot of stuff, and I don't really know how great it's going to be. I will say the one thing, if you are looking for hope, the offensive and defensive core is pretty much intact with this team for the next few years. So that's something to look for
We'll
with
say
transition.
here go back. I will say that I hate to go back to negative after you said something positive, but Jalen Ramsey out the door. That means your starting corners are Jason Marshall, who's a fifth round pick, and Duck Storm or Storm Duck. I don't never heard of him in my life.
Yeah,
And I mean, we do a lot. We know a lot about football. Like I don't know, man. As like, and you didn't think to spend a single early round pick on a corner? Not a single one?
it's crazy to
Really?
me. It's crazy to me. They got a really good linebacker group. That's one thing I'll give them. But then besides that Kenneth Grant signing, which I think he'll play nose tackle, he's listed as a defensive end here. But other than that, just even the defensive ends were weak. It just it confuses me as much as it confuses
I
you.
don't know, man.
You tell me here, give him some hope or anything. How do you sort this draft out?
Yeah, Savanae is great. I mean, he's gonna be a really good player playing a guard for them. Draft Diamond is Ollie Gordon, a guy that we were both a lot higher on. We've talked about him a lot actually because he's one of the few bright spots of this draft. He's a great change of pace guy. He's very powerful, incredibly strong, and having to tackle Achan and try and catch Achan and then tackle Ollie Gordon is gonna be hard for a lot of people to do. Best value, Jordan Phillips guy out of Maryland. I like. Same thing with top sleeper. He's going to come in. He's going to play nose tackle, maybe defensive end for them. And then year one impact, Kenneth Grant's going to be really, really good football player. So there's definitely some positives here, just not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same thoughts. I really like Kenneth Grant, favorite pick. I think Jason Marshall Jr. is going to have to be the sleeper here in this
Better
cornerback
be.
room.
Better
Best
be.
value, we talked about Quinn Ewers. That's his value there. Really good job there. Draft Diamond Ollie Gordon as well. And then year one impact on that interior. Tavernier, I totally agree. It's going to have that impact. We'll be really quick here, but simple question. Can this team sneak into a wild card in 2025?
Yes, as long as you have Waddle and Reek and Achan, you can, and they've done it before. They've done it last
Yeah,
few years. They've put up 40, they win the games 45-42. They will win a lot of games like that this season. Can they? Yes. Do I think they will? No, I don't. I don't think they
I
will.
would have to. I just don't see it. This is the packed AFC, which will take us into our offseason winners and losers. Is there a winner from this offseason?
Yeah, it's the Patriots, obviously. Like home run, like grand
Great
slam.
job.
Amazing.
And then loser.
Dolphins. It was
Yeah,
bad.
I would have to agree.
I
It's the
don't
Dolphins
know.
again.
Yeah.
It's just underwhelming. We just don't understand the direction of this team. They can only rely on speed for so long. And you lose Mostert. You have the issues with Reek in the offseason. I guess he's back now. I don't know what the deal is with that. Waddle kind of had a down year, so they're gonna have to rely on Tua staying healthy to really propel this team.
God forbid he gets hurt again. Like
Yeah,
it's ugh.
I mean, you're looking at not playing football anymore, so that could be interesting. We'll go straight into the win totals here. Um, we got the Bills here at 11.5, Dolphins at 8.5, Patriots at 7.5, and the Jets at 5.5. Is there a way to rank this properly?
Yeah, I will say that like I'm a little surprised that the Patriots are at 7.5. That's a high number. So it seems like we're not the only ones that were high on the
They had them at eight
offseason.
and a half a few, like I think it was weeks ago. I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
whoa,
No way.
yeah.
That's
So when
really high.
I was making this graphic and I had to go back and I checked
Yeah.
it again and I was like, okay, they went down. 8.5 was a large margin. But yeah, 7.5.
I'm taking the over on the Bills. Taking the under on the Dolphins. I don't know what I'm doing about the Patriots. I think they win 7 games this season, so I'm gonna go under. And I think that's a win. Like I think that's a
Yeah,
good season if they win 7 games.
100%.
And I think I'll take the over on the Jets too. So
Yeah, I would have to go. I think I'm going over on the Bills. I think they're just going to continue to do what they've been doing. If I hated on them last year, I don't know if I can hate on them this year after getting better. The Dolphins are definitely going under, in my opinion. You just like if you think about a mediocre team, it's the Dolphins, just average. So they're definitely going under 8.5 for me. I wouldn't be surprised if they win like 5 games or something where they just it all falls apart. I think the Patriots are going to also go over. Um, I'm excited to see that. I when they were 8.5, I had them going over as well. So I think that they're going to be a sleeper team in this kind of AFC, especially in this East that's kind of weak. And then the Jets, I'm going over on the Jets. They won 5 games last year, and I think that this is a very much calmer off season. It's not all hectic and hype up. So I'm excited for this Jets team. I'm excited to go watch some Jets football and watch them win some games because I think that will happen. And yeah, that'll be it for the AFC East Division Draftables. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, we'll see you next time.